It's a pleasure to start the MIT Leadership Center video series with John Shepard Reed. John is the former CEO and chairman of Citigroup, the former chairman of the board of the New York Stock Exchange, and soon to be the former chairman of the MIT Corporation. John is both a product of MIT and a shaper of the Institute, so it's a real pleasure to have him with us today. Obviously, you have been a leader for a good many years in both the business world and the academic world. And I wonder if it's at all possible for you to think about how you might describe your leadership style, or what we at MIT call your leadership signature. What words or phrases or examples might give us a sense of what makes you the leader that you are?
I suspect that if you were to try to describe my style, the word vision would be there. I think a lot of people found working for me to be satisfactory because I had a vision of something that they could identify with and wanted to be a part of. So I think that was stylistically important. When I first started out, two of my more important jobs, running the back office and running the consumer, I think vision was really important because I had a vision of those things. It was new and different, and lots of people wanted to join.
Can you think of specific things from your childhood? I know that you lived in several different countries, or from particular work experiences or mentors, or whatever you think contributed to you becoming who you are.
Living overseas, as you mentioned, makes a big difference, I think. You discover who you are earlier because, I'm an American, but I was living in Argentina and Brazil, and I wasn't Argentine, I wasn't Brazilian, but I wasn't also fully an American because I was in school in, foreign country with friends speaking different languages. I could remember when I first moved to Brazil, my dad sent the car straight to school before they went to a hotel. And I was in class in Portuguese, a language I didn't speak, before my parents had even checked into the hotel.
Oh my goodness.
And so you sort of have to learn to be okay with that and to make public mistakes, which when you don't speak the language, you do. And that helped. It's got to have helped. MIT helped. It clearly taught me to think. The people that you go to school with here at MIT just raise the bar. You get used to working with people who operate at a more demanding level. I clearly felt my brain change when I was here in school. That somehow I learned how to think more rigorously, and I felt more confident in my own work. That helped a lot.
At the MIT Leadership Center, we have a lot of models and ways of thinking about leadership, and one construct that we focus on a lot is that of sense-making, making sense of the context in which you're operating.
Yep.
And I would give you very high grades as a sense maker, and I wonder if you could speak a little bit about how you employed sense-making in your leadership over the years.
Well, clearly, as you say, it's fundamental. I think everything I've done has always started out with my trying to make sense of what we were trying to do so that I could fit in and be effective. One of my important jobs, I was asked by Mr. Riston, who was head of Citi at the time, to figure out what role computers were going to play in banking. Now remember, this is 1967, 68. And no one that sees this tape will have the slightest idea of how little computers existed at the time and how little they could do. But anyway, I spent 9 months getting to understand the computer industry. I went to the library and I pulled all the filings with the SEC, which have a very highly formatted description of what companies do. Companies have to describe their business right up front. And then I went out into the field and I talked to people. Being from a bank, I could gain access. And by the way, one thing I discovered even as a student at MIT, that if you go to a company and knock on their door and ask a question, it's amazing what people will tell you. I mean, managers at companies will take time to talk to a student, and they'll tell you what they do, and it's quite amazing. So at the end of that 9-month period, I had what I thought was a decent sense of the industry and how it might impact us. And then I went back and suggested that the thing that was most important to the banking business was going to be an online interaction with our customers, which eventually led to cash machines and all this kind of junk. But that was, again, sense-making.
It's a pretty scary world out there. And I guess the question would be, what kind of leadership skills do you think are needed in this moment in time?
Well, you get back to it. It would help to have somebody who had a clear vision that would guide you through all of these, difficult choices and so forth. Some flexibility, because you're surely going to get it wrong, and you got to be willing to listen and change. You clearly need leaders who, as you just point out, have this sense-making skill, because there's so much going on that you could get confused. I mean, the background noise is really pretty high. Yeah. I think we have tons of opportunities, but there are lots of risks. And that's going to be a tough combination.